Okay, welcome everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. And before I start, I want to read a little message from Councillor Fenwick, who's asked me to send his deepest regrets on his behalf to Council and to those in attendance tonight. He's unable to attend this meeting tonight due to a very important special announcement in Toronto. So, Brandy, you have an amendment to the agenda, I believe?
Through you, Reeve-Wise, thank you. Yes, if I can get a motion on the floor to amend the agenda. There's been a request to move item 11 on the agenda, which is direct motions, notices of motions, to under item 7, which is presentations. And there's been a request from the CAO to add a closed session agenda regarding the Tamworth Medical Center lease negotiations. So if I can get a motion.
Moved by Deputy Reeve Davidson, seconded by Councillor Milligan. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest on any item on the agenda tonight? None declared. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. We do have our 15-minute open forum, and we have 6 people signed up for that. Now, we might have to compress this a little bit. Open forum is 15 minutes, and each person is allowed 3. 3 times 6 is 18. So what I will suggest, and I don't want to rush anyone, but if you are following the first couple of speakers and you realize they've already raised your points, perhaps you could just make your presentation a little briefer. I would ask for that consideration. And the first person on the open forum list is Heather Levy or Levy? Levy. Levy, just come up to the microphone here, Heather, and press the button, and if the light turns red, it's on, and the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Okay. Is it on? People can hear me? Good stuff. Good evening, Reeve and members of council. My name is Heather Levy, and I am a resident of the Township of Stone Mills. I am speaking this evening during open forum with respect to agenda item 7.2, the Alto project overview, which council is receiving for information. I want to begin by saying that I'm speaking primarily for myself. However, through my involvement with the Save South Frontenac Committee and through helping to establish a community social media group for Stone Mills residents, I have had the opportunity to hear from many people who share serious concerns about this project, particularly as it relates to the proposed southern corridor. A consistent message I am hearing is that residents feel they do not have enough clear, accessible information about what is being proposed in their area. Many are struggling to understand the purpose and scope of the current public consultation and how or whether their feedback will meaningfully influence outcomes related to the proposed southern corridor. I have also been paying close attention to how other municipalities are responding. I have been impressed by councils such as South Frontenac and most recently Rideau Lakes, which have passed motions indicating that they are not supportive of the project as it is currently presented. Several have noted that while they may support high-speed rail infrastructure in principle, they do not support routes shown in the current Alto materials. My understanding is that alternate routes, such as corridors further south, alignments closer to urban centers, or corridors that could better support station stops and make use of existing infrastructure, are not actually part of the current Alto consultation. For example, the City of Kingston, including the mayor, has publicly indicated support for a southern corridor in hopes of securing a station stop near Kingston. However, the consultation materials focus on variants shown in the Alto's interactive map rather than on fundamentally different alignments, corridor, or station choices. That distinction is not well understood by the public and has added to the confusion and frustration many residents are feeling. Here in Stone Mills, people are concerned about very concrete local impacts associated with the proposed southern corridor. The potential expropriation of homes, land, and private property, depending on where the track is ultimately placed, damage to existing residences and farmed lands, impacts on ecologically sensitive areas, and access issues where roads may be cut off or permanently rerouted. Residents are also asking how emergency services and other essential government services would reach communities if rail infrastructure associated with the proposed southern corridor creates dead-end roads or longer response times. There are also widespread concerns about water, including impacts to wells and water tables, even for residents who may not live directly along the proposed route. Taken together, these concerns lead me to my central point. I do not support the Alto project in Stone Mills as it relates to the proposed southern corridor, and many residents I've heard from feel the same. I respectfully urge Council to use its ability to seek clear, direct information from Alto, to carefully consider the concerns that are being raised by residents, and to consider passing a motion indicating that the Township of Stone Mills is not supportive of the proposed southern corridor in this area. Stone Mills is not simply a corridor between destinations, it is a community, and decisions made here will have lasting consequences for the people who live on this land. In closing, I urge Council to carefully consider the concerns being raised by residents and to indicate that the Township of Stone Mills is not supportive of the Alto project in this area.
Thank you, Heather. That was very succinct. So that was about 3.5 minutes, so other presenters take note. If you go longer than that, I'm going to cut you off. So the next, do you want a motion to receive each one or all in a group? No. Okay. Ted Darby is the next presenter. Hi, Ted. You know the drill with the microphone.
Greetings, Reeve, Deputy Reeve, members of council, members of the public. Delighted to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. I wish to address briefly why Stone Mills should actually oppose the southern route. Personally, I'm in favor of the high-speed rail, no question about it. And by the way, I should introduce myself, Ted Darby. I'm chair of Friends in Napanee. Right, so if I could have the next slide, please. What you'll hear in the deputations today is reasons why you should consider opposing this and why we as citizens should also oppose it. The key thing I'd like to highlight in this slide is the impact on the Cataraqui Trail. I don't believe it's any accident that the southern route happens to parallel the Cataraqui Trail. So that would be an enormous loss at the national, provincial, and regional local level if we were to lose the Cataraqui Trail. It's a treasure. Other reasons will be talked about later on. Just to be clear on what the southern route is, could you have the next slide, please? This is the map that you'll see in the Alto presentation, which will talk about all the benefits of the high-speed rail, which I do concur. It's the southern route, and if I can express why, if the next slide, please. So when you superimpose, and I'm not a cartographer, a map maker, I just play around with PowerPoint, so forgive this if it's a little rough, but you'll see where the corridor goes in terms of the impact on Stone Mills. It's right through Newburgh, it's right through Yarker, it's right through Camden East. It extends to the northern boundary of Napanee, so obvious impact on residential areas, as well as environmentally sensitive areas, and as I mentioned, the Cataraqui Trail. But to be clear, this is what we're looking at, so you can see the impact. Next slide, please. We can all make a difference in this project, and I encourage everybody in this room, everybody listening, and the public in general, look at the Facebook posts, look at, participate in Facebook, complete the online survey, provide feedback on the interactive map. So lots of opportunities, and the public consultation process as well. Next slide, please. And then, as mentioned in the previous presentation, there is an opportunity for council to make a motion, as others have, and what is cited here is the motion that was voted unanimously last Tuesday, the Township of South Frontenac, to oppose this formally. So the wording is included here. I'm sorry for the very small font. This presentation, this ends my presentation. I'm trying to be very brief and catch up on the time. You can read this presentation if you go to Friends in Napanee River, the webpage, which you can Google, and the presentation will be posted tomorrow, I hope. So with that, I conclude and be happy to address any questions in the time I have left. And thank you again very much.
Thank you, Ted. Next speaker is Susan Maswell, I believe. You correct me, Susan, on the pronunciation if I'm mistaken.
This is still on?
Yes, as long as the red light's on, it's on.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak very briefly. I'm the vice chair of the Frontenac Arch Biosphere Network, and we're responsible for administering the biosphere, which would be impacted by the transecting of the proposed southern route through the region. I must admit, I'm a resident of South Frontenac myself, but close to Bell Rock, so almost on the edge with Stone Mills. We are monitoring the situation, the discussions, and the public forums very closely, and we do intend to provide a submission to ALTO concerning the importance of the biosphere and the need to conserve its designation, which could be possibly impacted by a southern route through this wonderful wildlife area that we have, which connects the Adirondacks to Algonquin Park. It's an important wildlife corridor, and it maintains biodiversity. It's important to our citizens and to conservation writ large in Eastern Canada. So we understand that ALTO is conferring with some of the conservation authorities, but it hasn't come to the biosphere, which is responsible for the administration of the designation. We would invite ALTO to meet with us so that we can provide information about the biosphere to it and inform some of this public consultation that is going on so that it has the correct information about the biosphere. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Susan. And the next speaker is Wayne Goodyear.
You can withdraw my name because it was biosphere. It's that important, but we don't need to echo it.
Thanks, Wayne. And then we have Penny and Theo Nyborg. No? And finally, I have Steve Sweet. Nothing to add? Okay, thanks. I really appreciate that. I think the main points that I've seen, you know, in the media and being discussed have all been touched on by everyone. So thank you for being succinct and clear. Can I get a motion to receive all the delegations? Krista Lee Woodcock and Councillor Land. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we have two deputations this evening. The first, 7.1, Lindsay Nash, Outreach and Stewardship Coordinator from Quinte Conservation, with regard to municipal support for QC's application to the Green Municipal Fund, Growing Canada's Community Canopies. The recommended motion will be that Council approves a partnership between the Township and Quinte Conservation, with Quinte acting as the lead applicant for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund, Growing Canada's Community Canopies program, and that the REIT be authorized to provide a letter of support on behalf of Council to accompany the grant application, and that staff be directed to collaborate with Quinte Conservation to finalize the partnership framework within approved budgets and report back to Council on any specific resource circumstance or commitments or project milestones. Can I get that motion on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan and Councillor Land. And Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you.
The floor is yours. As long as that red light's on, your microphone is working.
Thanks. Okay, starting on the next slide. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Nash. I'm the Outreach and Stewardship Coordinator at Quinte Conservation. Next slide. So I'm here today to obtain council support to apply as the lead for the Green Municipal Fund Growing Canada's Community Canopies Grant. I'm going to refer to that as the GMF GCCC. Next. So Quinte Conservation, alongside the Quinte Urban Forest Network, is proposing to be the lead applicant for the GMF GCCC Fund. I'm going to each of our member municipalities and giving all of them the option to leverage funding and staff report for planting projects, both existing and proposed, as long as the trees aren't planted by the time that we get the funding. As lead, Quinte Conservation will focus on planting a diverse range of native tree and shrub species. Next slide. So the funding opportunities are quite a wide range. They're specifically for long-term and permanent forestry intention and can include street tree planting, urban planting, park tree planting, riparian planting, forest restoration, and reforestation, both on public and private lands. Next slide. So some projects that are not eligible for this fund include areas that are naturally healthy wetlands and grassland ecosystems, and would probably also extend to alivars in this area as well. They're already healthy and functioning, so we don't want to transition those lands into forests. We want to transition naturally disturbed areas into forests. A maintenance plan and survival assessment report are required following each project. Next. So my timeline is right now I'm going to each of our councils to obtain support at their February meetings. So this is key because Quinte Conservation can't apply for this fund without support of council, since it is a Green Municipal Fund grant. So even if you don't want to engage your municipal staff in this grant, by providing us support, this unlocks the funding for Quinte Conservation as well as private interest groups and other residents to access this grant. So that could include stewardship councils, schools, churches, Rotary, anything like that. But you also have the option to have your municipal programs included into this grant as well, but you don't have to. So the deadline for municipalities and private interest groups to respond with project participation and a general project outline to me is the end of March. And then in April, I'm going to get everyone's proposals together to apply for the actual grant. So I'll formally apply for the fund with a professionally reviewed planting plan and an urban forestry grant coach, which is actually provided by the GMF GCCC fund. So once we apply it in April, there's about a 6 to 8 month waiting period before we hear back about the grant, which puts us at tree planting for either fall of 2026 or spring of 2027. Now, after planting the trees, after receiving the grant, we have up to 2 years to plant the trees. And then after that, we do have to maintain and monitor those trees. Next slide. So Quinte Conservation's expectations and working with our municipal partners as well as any private interest groups would include a letter of support from council, which is what I'm here for tonight, a financial contribution of 50% of the project cost. I'll get into that in a little bit. A tree planting budget with the source of funding identified, identification of existing and proposed programs that you want to engage in this program, and then if possible, identify sites where an increase in tree canopy would be beneficial, whether that be on private or public lands, and any current data or tree canopy studies to support or identify the need for trees. Now, I realize those last 2 points, every municipality is different, so the more information you can provide, the better our application is, but it's not something that we're looking for you to go out and figure out on your own. And in exchange, Quinte Conservation will coordinate administrative and logistical aspects of the application. We will assist with leveraging funding where possible, act as a liaison between municipalities, local interest groups, and the GMF GCCC funders, and we will submit the final reporting. Next slide. So this grant is a 50% cost share grant with a minimum project threshold of $50,000. So I realize that your municipality probably doesn't have a budget of $50,000 to plant trees. So that's why Quinte Conservation is proposing to be the lead applicant, and we're looking to engage our 18 municipalities and our local interest groups to meet that threshold together to unlock the funding. So if you have like $1,000, that's great. What we want to do is we want to double it. We don't want to replace what you may have in your budget for tree planting. We're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We're looking for people who already have tree planting projects like planned, and we just want to double what people are already doing. I did talk to the funders ahead of this meeting, and they did want me to tell you that you do have a maximum project budget of $10 million and $1 million for infrastructure costs. So half the budget would be covered by the GMF fund, and the other half could come from municipal budget, private interest groups, so that'd be like schools, churches, stewardship councils, etc. Other grants, and the important point of the other grants is you can stack funding as long as that funding is not from the 2 Billion Trees program or Tree Canada, because that is the same source of funding for this fund. So anything goes as long as it doesn't come from there. And then any other fundraising efforts are accepted and welcome as well. So what you can do is increase but not replace your municipal tree planting budgets, and it can't be part of any legal tree planting requirements. So if you have some sort of bylaw that says if you cut a tree, you have to replace a tree, that doesn't count for this fund. Next. So implementing a watershed-wide tree planting initiative through different levels of partnership creates capacity for the community to work together while supporting climate resilience close to home. I have a whole list here of why there's many benefits of planting trees, including creating climate resiliency through flood retention, which is what we're all about at Quinte Conservation, but also trees reduce carbon dioxide from the air. Oxygen produced by trees is good for physical health. Trees reduce heat island effects in urban areas. They cool buildings in the summer with shade, provide a windbreak to buildings in the winter. They improve mental health through connection with nature, and diverse tree species promote healthy soils and habitat for a wide range of insects, birds, and mammals that are specific to the Quinte area. And this aligns well with Quinte Conservation's vision to advance watershed knowledge and collective actions to strengthen our natural ecosystems. So on the next slide, I have my contact information if you'd like to get a hold of me. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any questions or comments on Lindsay's presentation? Yes, Councillor Woodcock.
Just, a comment. I would be in favor of us supporting this, and then I would add to the motion that we reach out to the local community groups that were mentioned, like we have the LNA Stewardship Council, Friends of the Napanee River, Friends of the Salmon River. Those kind of independent groups would be perfect for this, because then basically they create a project, they can get double the funds if they, fundraise and put in. I think it'd be really positive, so I'd be in support.
Thank you.
I can't remember who made the motion. Was it Crystal Lee? Okay, so you'll have to get agreement from the mover and seconder. Is that agreeable?
That's fine with me.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Crystal Lee. Anyone else with a comment or question. CBO Detler, you're usually handling our tree planting efforts. Did you have any, before you found out about this program, did you have any intentions for the coming year or the coming couple of years that would dovetail with this, or does this create any conflicts for you?
Yes, thank you, through you, Your Worship. Yeah, just interested in, maybe I have maybe a few questions for myself. I know the last time that Stone Mills Township undertook a large tree planting program, we kind of worked with consultant Steve Pitt, that I'm sure Lindsay would be familiar with. And Steve kind of got the grants for us. And I mean, I think we planted 30, 40 acres of pine trees essentially for free. He organized the grants. And yeah, I'm not familiar with the rest of the program that she's describing there, but I think for the most part, I think we've planted since 2021, maybe 60, 70 acres. In the last few years, we've been planting essentially, and this is something that isn't mentioned in her, but I mean, the canopy locally in Stone Mills Township and other local municipalities has been just unbelievably impacted by the emerald ash borer. And you know, the township has, generally speaking, recently been putting $10,000 in the budget, not to replace these trees with little, but with the largest trees available that we can replace dead ash trees in parks with. And that's kind of what we've been doing lately. And in this year's draft budget, there's $10,000 reserved for similar purposes of replacing the, I mean, there's just parks like that literally 90% of the trees have died. And we've been replacing them with the largest trees that we can find available, and to try to kind of bring back the canopy in our parks. Anyways, that was just my comment.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. So it sounds like some coordination with this proposal might be in order here, depending on your needs and what we determine at budget time. Any further comments or questions? Councillor, staff? Yes, Councillor McDonald.
I just wonder what size we're looking at in trees, and are we looking at different types, pine and maples?
From what I recall, it's a wide range of tree sizes. So sky's the limit, I suppose. Yeah, and then as far as species go, we would support native species. But as long as they're native, like all types of native species, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, one of the unfortunate ironies of the ice storm in '98 was there was funding, government funding, to replace trees that were lost, and most of the trees that were planted along the roadside in our township anywhere were ash trees, which have now all died. I mean, it's kind of funny if it weren't so sad. So this will be timely. So we have a motion on the floor. If you're still agreeable to it with Councillor Woodcock's amendment, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks very much, Lindsay.
Thank you.
And the second delegation this evening is from Alto. This is a project overview from Joel Weeb, the Senior Advisor of Community Relations, and Lindsay Lashley, Senior Project Manager. Is Lindsay attending virtually?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I believe she's online right now. Yeah,
Okay.
I see her.
Okay. Go ahead, and Joel. The floor is yours with the mic, and the mic is on. And I would mention to the audience, this is not an exchange with the audience and Andrew. You can do that at one of the open houses, but council will be asking questions as well. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, appreciate that. So thank you so much for this opportunity. So I'm going to do a brief overview of the project, update on where we're at, and then my colleague Lindsay Lashley is here to help answer some questions as well. Yeah, appreciate this opportunity. Go back to the announcement back a year ago from the Prime Minister when Via HFR became Alto, a federal crown corporation that is now mandated to deliver a high-speed rail project that will bring 60% of Canada's population closer together. Next slide. Zeroing in on the specific challenges this project aims to address, Alto's high-speed rail project will help to improve productivity throughout the corridor and surrounding areas by addressing increased travel costs and fuel, vehicle maintenance, and even infrastructure maintenance, alleviating congestion on major highways and in airports, and bringing disconnected communities closer together through a convenient mode of transportation that reduces greenhouse gas emissions and improves quality of life through an enhanced passenger experience. Next slide. The project will run on 1,000 kilometers of dedicated electrified track. Our service will be fast, reliable, and frequent. We'll be reaching speeds of 300 kilometers an hour, significantly reducing travel times from Toronto all the way through to Quebec City. Given the specific design requirements of this technology, we'll need new track dedicated to moving people only, which has the benefit of increased reliability to ensure our trains arrive on time and bring you where you need to go when you expect it. We're targeting frequent departures, 20 to 30 trains daily, which will enable convenient travel options and accommodate a flexible schedule. Next slide. So here you see the map with our 7 station locations. So we are going Toronto, Peterborough, Ottawa, Laval, Montreal, Trois-Rivières, and Quebec City. What we don't have is the alignment, the line that's going to connect all of those. And we will get to the corridor map at the end of the presentation, which we will be refining down to a final alignment using the final alignment using technical analysis that includes safety, design, the environment, and social considerations. The project will be built in segments. On December 12th, it was announced that the first segment of the project will be built from Ottawa to Montreal, and that's where the project will start, but then we'll have 2 other phases with this. We won't wait for segment 1 to be done before we start segment 2 and segment 3. Next slide. So here we get to the travel time. So you're looking at downtown Toronto to Ottawa in about 2 hours, or Montreal to Toronto in 3. And that will significantly cut down on travel time and bring communities closer together. Next slide. From an economic perspective, high-speed rail is projected to increase Canada's GDP by 1.1%, or about $24 billion annually, through increased productivity, with cities being brought closer together, higher participation in the workforce, and increases in tourism. Next slide. There's several other outcomes for this project, including a meaningful contribution toward reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, with whom Alto has been engaging for several years. An increase in rail travel adoption results in safer travel between cities, reduced environmental impacts with fewer cars on the road, and an enhanced passenger experience in the corridor means you can multitask or just enjoy the ride while you travel. Next slide. The project will also strengthen the Canadian economy by sourcing goods and services right here. We'll need substantial volumes of steel, aluminum, and concrete for our track, trains, buildings, overpasses, and all the related infrastructure. We'll also need the people to build it. We're expecting this project to generate about 50,000 jobs. Next slide. Alto's not doing this work alone. In 2023, Transport Canada launched a rigorous RFP process to identify a project partner. The process closed a year ago in February, when the Prime Minister announced that Alto would work with Cadence, which is a consortium of rail infrastructure companies based in Canada and France, with expertise in delivering transportation and high-speed rail projects on a global scale. Next slide. And here we get to an update on the progress of this project. So over the next 4 years, so through to 2029, we'll identify the corridor and exact alignment, select station locations within those station cities, complete the regulatory process, acquire land, and finalize the engineering design. At the end of development in 2029, Alto and Cadence will present the cost and timeline of a shovel-ready project for federal approval. After that, we'll start construction on segment 1. Next slide. Being in the development phase means that we are engaging stakeholders, including local organizations and elected officials such as yourselves, consulting Indigenous communities and facilitating their participation in the project, and establishing a corridor. Next slide. We are aware that not all communities see themselves in this project, especially those who are not supported with one of the 7 station locations. Recognizing this, Alto is in the initial stages of creating community benefit plans that will create sustained, measurable benefits for impacted communities along the project alignment. The early vision for this program includes a focus on economic opportunities through employment and procurement for local businesses. Next slide. So an update on our public engagement activities. Actually, we can go to the next one here. Underpinning our engagement here at Alto are principles that ensure that we are open, transparent, and that reflect the local needs across the corridor through respectful communications with an inclusive and collaborative approach. Next slide. Alto is in the midst of a comprehensive engagement process right now, including roundtables with municipal and community subject matter experts, public open houses in communities across Eastern Ontario and Quebec, virtual information sessions, and an online portal. We want to hear from communities throughout the corridor on what they want to see in this project, as well as local knowledge on things that are culturally, environmentally, or socially sensitive. Next slide. So here are some of our upcoming public open houses. So public is more than welcome to come out to those. The closest one here would be the one in South Frontenac coming up on February 18th. And that will be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then again from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it's a really good opportunity to engage with the whole team. You don't just have myself giving an overview of the project. We actually have our experts on hand to help answer some of the questions that the community may have. Next slide. And then we'll actually go on to the next one after that. So our corridor map, here is the larger overview of the full project. So going from Toronto all the way to Quebec City. And then we'll go to the next one, which is sort of the zoomed in version, which shows the proposed routes through Ontario. And these are all the areas that we are considering for this project. It certainly doesn't mean that the areas within that corridor are going to be part of the rail alignment. And this is where we're trying to get more feedback from communities throughout that area to find out more about what's important for them with this project and what they'd like to see with this. So with that, thank you so much for this opportunity, and more than happy to help answer some questions between myself and Lindsay.
Thank you, Andrew. No, there's no public questions for this section. No, sorry. Council will ask questions, and your opportunity to ask questions will be at the South Frontenac meeting. Council, questions or comments? Councillor Milligan.
I just have a couple questions. Some folks I've heard claim that it's worth it if there's a stop in Kingston. From what I've researched, that is not on the cards, and never will be. Is that correct?
It's not part of our project, so the task we have from Transport Canada is those 7 station locations.
Okay. Can I keep going? Yes. Thank you. I've also heard the argument, this is ridiculous, why don't they just improve the VIA tracks? From what I gather, VIA owns the trains, but CN Freight owns the tracks. Is that correct? So that's not a possibility either.
Correct. There are, I believe, some very small sections close to some stations that VIA has ownership, but they have to use freight lines for most of their service, which is what really prompted this project almost a decade ago, was the need to have dedicated passenger tracks. If you're going to have trains run on time, it's very difficult when you're taking a backseat to the people that own those tracks. And so this is, our proposal is that we will be having dedicated passenger-only tracks for this whole corridor.
Keep going. Yeah. So I understand this first part of the public consultation ends at the end of March, 26th or 29th or something. But a route decision will be made, I read, at the end of the second quarter. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
I don't think we have a particular timeline for that because, again, we are trying to seek community input. We're getting a lot of input, which is great. People are very interested in this project, and we need to take that all into consideration as we figure out where that rail alignment is going to go. Lindsay, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add on that as far as any decision on the alignment?
We do anticipate that by end of year, we would have what we have called the preferred alignment. And the intention is that there would be more definition around the scope, in particular in the segment 1 area, where we do plan by the end of year to go back to the public and have further discussions on that more refined scope within segment 1, so between Ottawa and Montreal.
One last question. Would you consider organizing a public meeting in our township?
It's certainly something we can consider. We have a rather busy timeline over the next couple of months in this part, but this is not the end of engagement as well. So this is what I do all year long. I'm happy to meet, whether it's with community groups and that, and then we'll have more of the larger public official engagements like we're doing right now with the open houses and roundtables again, likely later in the year. And so we'll evaluate various communities. I mean, we can't necessarily go to every community that is looking to host one, but as well as we better refine the route, that will make some of those decisions as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milligan. Anyone else? Yes, Deputy Reeve Davison, go ahead.
Just a moment ago, you mentioned that it would be by the end of the year, you'd have an idea of the proposed route for section 1. Sorry, is that working? Okay, sorry. The proposed route for section 1. When do you have an idea, when you'd have an idea on the, what I would call the Cataraqui Trail route, the lower route? When do you think you'd have an idea on when that will become definite or not definite?
Again, it's all going to, we have to evaluate a lot of feedback that we're getting over the next little while, which will go into those decisions. I don't know, Lindsay, if you've got more you'd like to add on to that?
No, I do not. I mean, we recognize that this is quite a challenging area. And as a result, we haven't placed a pin on the exact date, but the intention in focusing in on segment 1, it will give us some really good lessons learned that we can then apply in other more challenging areas.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I have a few questions as well. When I first got wind of this proposal several years ago, I don't know exactly when it was all about the northern route. When did the consideration of a southern route start to be considered?
Sure. Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. And I know that there were concepts shared very early on, I'm going to say 2017, 2018, that showed some preliminary maps of that high frequency rail line. And I think that's what a lot of people thought the high speed would be following that as well. And that route comes with some challenges that those proposals mostly aligned on old freight lines, which when we're going 300 kilometers an hour, that's very difficult for us to follow the twists and turns of those. And so when they went to, when Transport Canada received their proposals, they received a number of them. So it's three different proponents, each submitted a proposal for high speed and high frequency. And they came up with some various options of how to fulfill that task of getting to those different station locations. And so it wasn't necessarily that there was a loop, but it was that all areas are considered between those station locations, and then it's been refined down further and further and further until the southern option is essentially just a loop without considering that area that's in the middle. But I couldn't tell you exactly when that happened because it's been an evolving process. I don't know, Lindsay, if you've got anything else you wanted to add on to that?
Not necessarily. I would say that there are a few options to the south that have been brought forward by our consultant contractor that the intention was to find a route that was more constructible in moving out of attempting to minimize impact with the Canadian Shield, which is what we encountered in the northern route. In that straight path, we come up with a lot of difficult soil condition, hard bedrock conditions, as well as attempting to go over large bodies of water. So it's a few options to the south that have been identified as being a little bit more constructible, but present their own challenges as well that have been noted here today.
Thank you. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of conflicting considerations in this decision, which will be extremely difficult. So in terms of economic benefits, and this gets a little more general. What would, after construction is done, what would the economic benefits be to an area that doesn't have a station within reasonable driving distance?
No, that's fair. And we're still working through what some of that can be. So a big part of that is our community benefits plans that we're putting together. And we want to hear from communities throughout the corridor on what they would like to see. And I know it's very early in that conversation for both sides of that because we don't even know necessarily what communities we're going through. But we want to keep in mind what we can provide back to a community that will show good investment. The other side of it as well, there will be employment for the rail line. There will be various maintenance facilities along the corridor as well, which will come with their own economic spin-offs.
In terms of the population that you're trying to move, this would be, I assume, a demographic, if I can use that term, that currently would mostly be flying. You're talking major urban center to major urban center. Do you expect this will be cost competitive with air travel? And has there been enough projection to figure out how that would look? Is it way cheaper, or is it more or less the same, or what do you expect?
That's one of the big demographics that we're looking at, because as you say, there are a lot of people flying back and forth, and so we haven't set out what our pricing will be, but that we want to make that attractive to them, not only from a cost perspective, but from a time perspective, in that traveling by rail is a little more convenient than going through the whole airport process. But we're also looking very closely at the seniors, the students, others who are going to be visiting family. Will have different levels of pricing for different levels of service. So the people who are flying business class from Toronto to Ottawa are going to expect to have a space that they can work in, maybe having a food service. You know, again, we're going to be hearing from people on what they expect out of that service versus someone who's looking for the lowest cost way to get from A to B rather quickly and still rather comfortably. And so we'll have different levels of pricing to provide different levels of service.
We had a representative here from the Frontenac Biosphere. Environmental considerations are going to be major for this project, and I wonder specifically about the Frontenac Biosphere. This is a unique area. I'm sure you're aware of it. It's in a relatively small and concentrated section of the Canadian Shield. Do both of these routes basically traverse that area, or would only the southern route traverse that area?
I can't tell you off the top of my head on what parts of that we'd be going through. I'll defer to Lindsay on that in just a second if she has more context, but I'll say in regards to the earlier delegation, I'd love to have more of a conversation with them, making sure that we can get more context from them about what would be involved with this. But Lindsay, I don't know if you've got more context to add on that.
Unfortunately, I don't, and not being an environmental savvy specialist, but I sort of echo your thoughts, Joel, that it would be really nice to have the individual that spoke earlier be in touch with us and to provide us with those details, because that's the number one reason for us engaging in early stages such as these, to receive that sort of feedback and be able to input into our analyses to better understand the area.
So Susan Maswell is here. Susan, if you have contact information, you can get it. Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. I don't have a lot more other than, I guess, and this is, and I won't take up a lot of your time here. What's the big hurry? Do you know what I mean? It used to be, you know, you lost productive work time when you took a long trip. Now we've got all these devices. We can work from the time we get on a plane or a train till the time we get to where we're going. What's an hour or two either way? Is it worth spending $100 billion in disrupting all kinds of communities to save people that live in big cities a couple hours of travel time? I mean, that's just something that, you know, is a fundamental consideration. It sounds great. This is a you know, a nation-building project kind of idea. But I'm just wondering what the philosophical underpinnings for this whole project are. What's your sort of corporate vision for why we're doing this, besides all the economic stimulation?
Sure.
What's the hurry?
Well, and I can only answer part of that. I'm not the CEO of the company
I don't expect
give you
you to,
the whole
Andrew.
philosophy
It's
on
just
everything.
something we've all got to think about.
But I'll tell you a bit about what drives me on this, and what excites me is that we're so used to measuring distance in hours. And everything you go, you know, you're 4 hours here, 5 hours to go there. We're cutting hours. And so there's going to be, we're bringing places closer together that people are going to have opportunities. You know, we're used to going 2 hours, so I'm based out of Peterborough area. We're used to going 2 hours into Toronto for everything, and we'll be looking at places like Montreal and Ottawa the same way we look at Toronto today. And so it's that idea of bringing communities closer together that motivates myself.
So for people in major centers, it basically makes Southern Ontario and Quebec more of a hometown from that standpoint. But for all the rest of us, we're just on the outside looking in, and we're living with the disruptions and with the environmental disruptions. So you can understand this is divisive from that standpoint. I know it's certainly not the intent, and there are good environmental reasons from a climate change standpoint. I'm all in favor of replacing fossil fuel burning jet planes with electrified trains, but it's not without its problems. Anyone else on council have any comments? Councillor Land.
Just a couple of things. There's been some question about what the train would look like. Will it be on the land, or is it going to be built up and, you know, on a, you know, a higher platform traveling over the land? What's it going to look like?
So Lindsay is from our technical team, so I'm going to get her to explain a bit more about what you can expect to see.
Yeah, we're anticipating to see many different solutions in that regard. There may be cases when we're going elevated to ground level, in particular when we're trying to minimize impacts to the environment and the surrounding species. There may be cases when we're going underground if we're trying to avoid very high dense areas. And there may be some at-grade solutions as well when there are lower impacts. Ultimately, we will be challenged with you know, separating and designating ourselves from road, as we will never be able to cross at grade to current road crossings. So that's a significant part for us to consider in the alignment, is separating the high speed from the surrounding area in such a way that we ensure a zero tolerance in terms of safety. I'll add another point that challenges us when we're thinking about the alignment is that we have to be as straight as we possibly can through these areas so that we can achieve top speeds to make it attractable from a journey time perspective. And the turning radius for us as a result is very low. We're looking at 7 kilometers to create a full turn. So this is why you see in most of the alignment that it's fairly straight. And so when you factor in all those different aspects, we do have some challenges ahead of ensuring that we are achieving the straight line, minimizing impacts as much as possible, and separating ourselves in a dedicated right of way.
Okay. You mentioned about the impact of the shield on the northern route and the water that's up there as well, and I can appreciate that. However, as you may be aware, we have a lot of water down here, and we also have a lot of rock in this township. And east of here, when you get towards Rockport and around Kingston, there's major rock in there too. So even though you're coming a little farther away from the shield, you're still getting drumlins and things like that that are going to impact on your route that you may not even be aware of until you get in there and start digging. So I'd love for you to take a closer look at that statement. And also, yes, there's an impact with the shield, but when you're coming further south, you're impacting people's lives, their homes, their heritage. We're in the Empire Loyalist area here, and some of these homes are 250 years old, and to, what's the word, expropriate something like that, it would be just a crime. Well, no, that's being dramatic. It would be a shame. So I would love to see you stick north. Last question, not really a question, I'm just going to speak about the biosphere. So I just pulled it up on the website, and just to let you know the geographical area, it's Brockville to Kingston and north to Verona and Perth. So that's just to tuck that away.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Anyone else? Any final comments, Andrew or your colleagues? Sorry, Lindsay?
Oh, sorry, for me?
Yeah.
No,
Any final word to you?
No, I appreciate this opportunity, and I appreciate the engagement from the community here tonight.
Well, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Lindsay. Yes. Joel. Why did I call you Andrew?
That's all right.
It's because I know someone named Andrew Weep. This is what happens when you get old, Joel. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. We have a motion on the floor, Council. All in favor? No, I don't. Oh, we didn't do a motion. Okay, so just a motion to receive. Deputy Davidson, seconded by Councillor Milligan. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Is 7, yeah. So we had a agenda change to move item 11, which is the next item now, is going to be item 7. And item 11 is notice of motion or direct motion? Which is it?
Call for notices of motion. If no one has any, then you can.
Okay, is there a notice of motion? Councillor Milligan. It's a direct motion? Go ahead.
Okay. I want to speak clearly and urgently about the proposed southern route of the Alto train. This route is not simply an inconvenience, it is a direct threat to our community. The southern route would bring serious and lasting harm to the people who live here and offers no benefit in return. Our area is being treated as nothing more than a corridor to pass through, sacrificed for a project designed to serve people that live somewhere else. Our land is not disposable, and our community should not be collateral damage. I will read my motion now. Okay. Whereas the Government of Canada, through Alto, the federal crown corporation responsible for high-speed rail planning, is currently undertaking route planning and consultation for a proposed high-speed rail corridor between Toronto and Quebec City. And whereas one of the proposed alignments under consideration is a southern route option that may pass through or directly impact rural municipalities in Eastern Ontario, including lands within or adjacent to the Township of Stone Mills, and whereas the Township of Stone Mills is a rural agricultural community whose residents, farms, and natural environment may be significantly disrupted by the construction of a new high-speed rail corridor, and whereas the southern route option raises serious concerns regarding the potential expropriation of private property and farmland, the fragmentation of agricultural operations, long-term impacts on rural road networks and community access, noise, vibration, and safety impacts associated with high-speed rail infrastructure, and adverse effects on environmentally sensitive lands, waterways, and wildlife habitat. And whereas the township has significant concern that this alignment would impose substantial local and regional harm without any corresponding benefit to Stone Mills residents, particularly in the absence of any proposed station stop or service access within the community. Now therefore be it resolved that number 1, Council for the Township of Stone Mills formally opposes the proposed Alto High-Speed Rail Southern Route alignment through or near the township due to the unacceptable impacts on residents, farmland, the environment, and the rural character of the community. Number 2, council strongly objects to the use of expropriation powers for this project where it would result in the loss of fragmentation of productive agricultural land and rural property without corresponding local benefit or service access to the community. Number 3, council calls upon Alto and the Government of Canada to remove rural municipal lands from consideration where communities will experience disruption without service benefit. Council directs the clerk to forward this resolution to Alto High Speed Rail Project Office, the Honourable Minister of Transport, Government of Canada, the local member of Parliament, the local member of Provincial Parliament, the County of Lennox and Addington, nearby municipalities impacted by the proposed corridor, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. Number 5, council further directs staff to explore opportunities for cooperation with neighboring municipalities to ensure a unified regional response opposing the southern route alignment. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Land seconds. Any discussion? Deputy Reeve Davison requests a recorded vote. Do you want to call that?
Yeah, just give me a minute.
Yeah, sure. Set it up. Yeah. Don't take this personally, Joel. It's an expression of public will.
Okay, through you, Reeve-wise, we'll start with the mover and go in alphabetical order by last name, ending with the chair. So, Councillor Milligan?
Yes.
Yes. Deputy Reeve Davison?
Yes.
Councillor Lalonde? Yes. Councillor McDonald?
Yes.
Councillor Woodcock?
Yes.
And Reeve-wise?
Yes.
That's passed.
Okay, that motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to items for consideration. Those of you who aren't particularly interested in the rest of the agenda, although we are discussing whether to change from Reeve to mayor. But you're welcome to leave at this time if you wish to do so, and we'll just pause for a moment to let the room clear. Okay, we'll carry on with the meeting. Item 8.1, Head of Council Title Change, Reeve versus Mayor. Recommendation that the council receives a report and the council supports the change in title for the head of council from Reeve to Deputy Reeve to Mayor to Deputy Mayor respectively, and further that staff be directed to prepare a bylaw for the next meeting to implement the title change, or the council simply receive this for information purposes. So I won't ask for a mover and seconder for that, since those are directly conflicting motion, but this is Clerk Teeple's presentation. Brandy, did you want to elaborate?
Thank you, Reeve Wise. Nothing further to add to the report. Just bringing it to council for your consideration as I start to prepare for the 2026 municipal elections. I'm not aware of council discussing this in the past 4 years, so I thought I'd bring it forward for consideration.
Thank you. So, any thoughts? Councillor Milligan.
My only thought is, it does come up every so often when we're at events where, you know, people ask, and you always have to explain, you know, what a reeve is and how it's kind of the same thing as a mayor. But, I mean, it's never been a huge issue, but if it's also, there's no cost to it and it helps things line up, then I'm for it.
Anyone else? Councillor Lalande.
So we did discuss this probably 6 or 7 years ago, and we had pretty good discussion about it. I wish I could remember the reason that we decided to stick with Reeve, and I can't. I'm sorry. I kind of always think of mayor as being the head of a city. I don't know why that is. It's just an idea that I've had in my mind. And so when I think of the word Reeve, it sort of encompasses, you know, 11 hamlets kind of thing. So I don't know why we're discussing this again, I guess because Brandy probably wasn't here to know and be part of that discussion, but we voted it down the last time. And I was kind of surprised to see it on the agenda, I guess.
Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Milligan.
I recall that it was just voted down because it was too close to an election. We were going to talk about it again, and I don't think it ever came up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, Jason.
I would just add as well, it was brought up in relation as well with the expanded use of strong mayor's powers that we received, which again it's controversial in its own, but more and more we're seeing communications from the province or from other agencies that just assume that we have a mayor, so it does clean up a little bit of that communication process as well.
Yes, Doug.
If this Michael work, I don't have an objection either way to it. I think though that when the last time we discussed it, it was kind of well, it'd been tradition. We'd been Reeve for a long time, you know, and the pictures are all Reeve or not mayor sort of thing. But I don't think it makes a difference either way. It's just a matter of preference and speaking. So it wouldn't upset me if it goes, and it wouldn't upset me if it stays.
It's an easier issue to deal with than Alto, that's for sure. Anyone else? Yeah, I have absolutely no preference, and I won't be sitting in this chair, Reeve or mayor, subsequent to this year. So I think it's more up to those of you who are at least hoping to be here to make this decision. So unless anyone's willing to make a motion, we can just receive it for information. Whatever you please, folks. Yes, Councillor Woodcock.
Well, listening to everybody, I wasn't sure I knew this must have come up before, and I was very curious what those discussions would be, but if there's not really opposition, if it could get us out of the strong mayor's power by remaining Reeve, but we know that's not true. And so in that sense, in terms of preparing for a municipal election ahead, if there's not really any opposition, then we might as well do it now, looking forward so it's all clear. I would make that motion that we move ahead.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Milligan? Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried.
Just for clarity, directing staff to bring a bylaw forward.
Yeah. The first part of that motion before the big or. Yeah. So all in favor then, just to be sure? Yeah, okay. I'll support that too. Thank you very much. 8.2 is use of corporate resources for election purposes policy. This is something we should have had before, and Brandy has brought this forward, that this report be received, and that a bylaw to adopt a use of corporate resources for election purposes policy be enacted and passed, and that the Reeve and clerk be authorized to sign and seal. Can I get this on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan, Deputy Reeve Davison, Brandy.
Through you, Reeve-wise, nothing further to add, just that this is a required policy to have in place during the elections. So if there's anything that's unclear within the policy, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any clarification needed by anyone from council? This just makes sense. We can't be using resources of the municipality to enhance a political campaign. It's pretty well common sense, but it's got to be down in writing. So we have a mover and seconder. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 8.3, special events bylaw update. I recommend a motion that a bylaw to regulate and permit special events be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and clerk be authorized to sign and seal, that the proposed set fines found on Schedule A of a bylaw be supported, and the clerk be authorized to submit an application to the Ontario Court of Justice for approval of the set fines, and 3, that the administrative monetary penalties bylaw be brought back to a future council meeting which incorporates penalties for failure to comply with the special events bylaw. Did you want to elaborate on anything here, Brandy?
Nothing further to add to the report. Just want to note that I didn't do a red line version of the policy or the bylaw just because they were vastly different in how they were written out, but I did list the changes in there so you can see them.
Okay, and sorry, I didn't get a mover and seconder for that. Does someone want to bring that forward? Councillor Milligan?
I wanted to make a motion to see if we could defer this till all of council's here, just to make sure we're clear, because there's lots of implications with volunteer groups and stuff. We just need to make sure we do this right.
Okay, is there support for that? Yeah, Councillor Woodcock? Is that agreeable? Is this time sensitive? No? Okay, so it's a motion to defer until full council's in attendance. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 8.4, Annual Statement of Development Charges Report. The motion that council receive the report as prepared by the treasurer for information, and that this annual statement of development charges be made available to the public on the Stone Mills Township website or upon request. Can I get that on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan and Deputy Reeve Davison. This is your report. Treasurer Raymond, did you wish to add anything to it or highlight anything?
Through you, Reeve-wise, this is the first time that this has come on the agenda, considering that development charges was passed late last year. It just shows that the revenue that has been collected over the year for 2025, it's an annual report you'll be seeing, and it shows on how it is going to affect different service areas based on the development charges review that happened. It also shows, I've attached a copy of what the public would see and what we provide as an information pamphlet to explain a little bit more of the development charges. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thanks, Anita. Any questions for Treasurer Raymond? In that case, we have a mover and seconder. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Anita. 8.5, Hours of Work and Overtime Policy Update. Recommend a motion that council receive this report and that council approve the updated hours of work and overtime policy as presented. Can I get a motion to put this on the floor, please? Councillor Land, Councillor Milligan, CAO White, this is your report.
Thank you, Reeve-wise, and through you, this is an updated policy that achieves some housekeeping measures as far as just we're systematically working through our personnel policies and looking for opportunities for updates and clarity. But specifically with the hours of work policy, there is an ask from staff about being able to bank additional time that is accrued through overtime. To date, there's been a practice, I would call it, that 1 week has been allowed through our tracking. But that policy itself wasn't necessarily clear, but also from the staff, a survey and feedback, there was also an ask to consider adding a second week for that. by banking the additional time doesn't incur additional costs to the township. It actually works from a financial point of view a bit in our favor in that bank time that's taken as time off is not paid out as additional time on an annual salary. And so there is a slight savings if that is taken to its full advantage. And the group that would benefit the most from that typically would be the Public Works group, who tend to put in a lot of time over the winter months and then taking some of that time during the summer or fall months. In the effort and the desire to have consistent policy for all staff, that benefit would be available to everybody. This was done in consultation with Public Works Manager Jeff Thompson, just to make sure that there was not going to be detrimental impacts to workloads and whatnot in other parts of the year when there is additional time off. And he could speak to that, but all indications are that we could absorb that accordingly. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you'd have about this policy.
Questions or comments? Yes, Randy.
Thank you, through you. I just noticed that the recommendation to repeal section 4.0 of the human resource policy was not included on the cover sheet here. So just if we can include that we formally repeal section 4.0.
So that's part of the motion then?
Yes.
Okay, is that agreeable to the mover and seconder? Okay. Jeff, any comments on this? This is something that's going to be workable for you in your department? I guess we'll see.
Through you, Reeve-wise, actually Mayor-wise. Yeah, I've spoken lengthily with CAO White, and it will be a cost-saving measure to a certain point on overtime. It's just scheduling in the summertime that, and depending on how busy we are in the summer and how short we are for people, but yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it'll require some cooperation and logistics, which I'm sure you're capable of and your employees are willing to engage in, so that's good. All right, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. 8.6 is public holidays and vacations policy update, and the motion would be to receive this report and that section 6.0 of the human resources policy be repealed and replaced with the attached policy, and that any other conflicting policies, bylaws, or resolutions conflicting with the attached policy are hereby repealed, and the council provide direction on whether township offices and services should be closed on Remembrance Day, November 11th annually, and the council provide direction on whether the offices should be closed on National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, September 30th annually. Can I get this on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan and Councillor McDonald, thank you. And this is another one of yours, CAO White.
Yep. Again, this is part of the same process. It seemed prudent to bring both of these policy updates together because they dovetail to each other in the same veins, I guess. At this time, November 11th, with the current policy, is considered a float day. And so it would not be an additional day off, I guess, for staff, but it would be a day that would be recognized at the same time by all staff rather than having it float around. That has potentially benefits and or restrictions attached to it. With the float day, you do get a little bit more flexibility. But with the fixed day, you kind of have a guaranteed day where all admin staff and support staff and whatnot are all know that the services are going to be reduced for that day. The last couple of years, we have informally closed the offices just to recognize the holiday and go and attend providing staff with the ability to attend a ceremony. So that on the balance, this doesn't add any new time off, I guess, in total for an allocation for each employee, but it does essentially recognize the holiday, or I hesitate to use the word holiday, but the day, on the day of the ceremony or of Remembrance Day, rather than just having it as a benefited float holiday. It isn't. I should note that November 11th isn't a statutory holiday for the province or municipalities, but is widely recognized by many municipalities, but is not a statutory holiday through the province. And I don't know if you want me to speak to each one individually, or if I want to ask if any member of the council has any specific questions.
Well,
about
we'll
that
open
one holiday.
that one up to the floor and deal with that first. Any discussion? Councillor Milligan?
I was just going to move to receive and support both days. I've been here almost 8 years now, and our employees don't ask for much, and if this is important to them, it doesn't really impact the budget. And as long as we give the public enough notice, it shouldn't have a huge impact for level of service either, so.
Okay. Is there support for that motion? Councillor Land, did you want to address the implication then of adding the Truth and Reconciliation Day to this statutory holiday roster?
Yes, through you. It is a less recognized day for municipalities that I was able to dig up, I guess, through my review of this. But it is a day that has been requested through, again, the feedback that we've received from staff and for us to consider. So I committed to them to bring this forward for council's review during this policy update. At this time, it is a relatively new observance that's happening throughout the year. We do a bit of communication around that time, but internally we're not, there's not a lot of activities tied to that day. By adding another day to our list of observed days through this policy, it does change the level of service in some regards, because it'd be one less day that the municipal offices would be open, and that's why it's coming to council. From a budgetary point of view, it is essentially another stat holiday, or sorry, I use the word stat holiday, but another day off paid with a lower service, but it doesn't add from a cost point of view to the annual budget for wages and salaries.
Do you have any comments or questions about this decision? I think it's appropriate. I think in your report you mentioned that I think Napanee and Prince Edward.
Those are the only two immediate kind of comparables that I could find that have stated that they observe this day, and they've done so in the past. So like I said, it's not the most commonly recognized day at this time, and different municipalities have chosen to recognize that day in different ways.
Yeah, and we certainly are near neighbors with Tyndonega territory, so it seems like a gesture of goodwill in that direction too. I will mention I've been watching Ken Burns' 6-part documentary series on the U.S. War of Independence and the Declaration of Independence. This is the 250th anniversary, and it's bizarre what's going on down there on this celebration of liberty and freedom. The American Revolution, I'm learning a lot about it from the standpoint of Indigenous peoples, was not about liberty at all. It was about expropriation. George Washington led an invasion of the upper New York State area where the Six Nations resided, and some still do reside, with instructions to burn every house, pull up every crop, kill every inhabitant, and devastate the entire area. Because as his troops had been moving through that area on various expeditions, they'd realized It was one of the most fertile and productive pieces of land in that part of the continental United States. So it was just a big land grab. That's the sort of thing that goes along with the establishment of the world's first functioning democracy, which is all positive and good, and which is justifiably celebrated. When people of color heard the patriots in the streets of the 13 colonies shouting liberty, the enslaved black people started shouting liberty too. And this made the landowners extremely uncomfortable and caused also a great deal of conflict. This is a complicated celebration to our south at a time when the country is led by someone who in all but name is a white supremacist and is surrounded by fascists. I'm not going to pull any punches here. This is a very peculiar, strange, and disturbing time. I'll call a question. All in favor? Yes.
I'm just gonna, for clarity purposes for the minutes and for staff direction, the motion, as I understand it, moved by Councillor Milligan, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that council receive the report entitled Public Holidays and Vacation Policy Update, and that section 6.0 of the Human Resources Policy be repealed and replaced with the attached policy, and that any other conflicting policies, bylaws, or resolutions conflicting with the attached policy are hereby repealed, and that council support the closure of the municipal offices to recognize Remembrance Day being November 11th, and that council support the closure of municipal offices to recognize Truth and Reconciliation Day being September 30th.
That encompasses all of it. Yes, that's the understanding of the mover and seconder? Yes. Thank you, Brandy. Okay, we got that approved. And, oh, I thought I did. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. So our next item is 8.7, update on Wall of Fame progress and Recreation Committee activity. The recommended motion is that council receive this report and that council directs recreation staff to begin the process of disposing of trophies from the Stone Mills Rec Center that staff have assessed as not being historically significant. Can someone put that on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan and Councillor McDonald and CBO Detler, this is your report. Did you wish to highlight anything?
Yes, through Reeve Wise, just had a member of the public recently reach out to a member of council regarding our progress here, and I just thought it was prescient to bring forward an update and kind of apologize for not getting this process, which started in 2023, further along than it is now. And just wanted to say that, yeah, that we have had recreation meetings, and perhaps not enough. But, you know, in this coming budget, there is more money to renovate a space, which the Recreation Committee has selected as being the new location of the Wall of Fame at the Stone Mills Rec Center. And part of it is to dispose of older, sort of decades-old trophies for tournaments, you know, won back then. And happy to take any questions on this.
Thanks, Jake. Any questions for Jake? On this one, yes, Councillor McDonald.
Well, it was nice to see this come to us. I'm sorry I was not able to be on any of the committees. It was a time when I kind of hurt myself and just wasn't able to make the meetings. But I do just have a question in regards to, I have no problem with disposing of outdated trophies, but I just, has there been a discussion of maybe just taking pictures of the names and years so that maybe it could be in an old scrapbook or on an old disc of some sort?
Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, through your Reeve Wise, my thought was actually to reach out to potentially people who played on hockey teams that won these trophies, to give it to those members instead of disposing of it. That was my idea.
I like Wendy's idea, though, even before, you know, if you do find people to take those if we had a photographic record or even just a list or something like that. If you think that that would work, Jake, wouldn't take much effort. Something to think about. Any further discussion? Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Just by way of information, some of those plaques or trophies, when we were going through them, are actually completely blank. Like that they were purchased with an intended purpose, and then just never actually got used. So that's part of the process. Is like the desire is to have like the significant, still appropriate trophies and whatnot still displayed, but ones that are attached to neighboring municipalities that used the building and awarded those trophies years ago, but haven't been updating them. They don't have that significance to Stone Mills, but should go back to the rightful owners of the neighboring municipalities that may want those and may have their own places of recognition for that. But it wouldn't be, you're right, it wouldn't be hard to take a few pictures of those before we dispose of those.
Sure. Anything further on this one? Yes, Councillor Lalonde.
Jake, the 2026 proposed budget, which we haven't seen yet, but you said the total recreation facility improvements, 320,000. Are there any funds out there that we can apply for to offset some of that cost?
Yeah, through you, Reeve Wise, I'm actually looking at the Trillium Fund Capital Grant for up to 200,000. It's due, I believe, the beginning of March. And we would use that Trillium Fund grant capital, which is kind of for community spaces, to upgrade the accessibility as well in the multi-purpose room, and to try to just give it a bit of a facelift. There's no current windows in that multi-purpose room, so we would maybe try to let a little light in. And for those that don't know, there's actually kind of a crack in the concrete floor there, which is becoming a safety hazard, and that's really why it's in the budget this year to give that space a facelift.
Anything further? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. Okay, next 8.8 is staff report on budget deficit for Newburgh Medical Center siding. Recommendation is that council accept the information entitled in the staff report, and further the council directs finance staff to fund the budget deficit for the project from stability reserve account. And Jake, can I get this motion on the floor, please? Councillor McDonald, Councillor Milligan. Jake, this is your report.
Yeah, through your Reeve Wise, just following up on a budget overage and how we were proposing to pay for a budget overage for those that forget. In 2025, the wrong siding got ordered for the Enterprise Hall project. It was vertical siding instead of horizontal, and we canceled another project for asbestos removal at the Aaronsville train station and applied that, and it just the company that was doing it was a trusted company that had done a lot of work for us in the past, and they used it as an extra, and it really worked out to being a lot more money than was verbally talked about or anticipated. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Jake on this? Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Reeve Davis.
Jake, have we done an analysis? Do we understand why there was such an overrun?
Yes, through Reeve Wise. The bills came in very, the bill for what I would call an extra came in with very detailed descriptions of every hour of work, of every piece of work that was completed, with every piece of material that was used. And it added up to more than I remember that verbal conversation being, and it added up to a lot more than I think that I was, that I would ever prepared to bring to council had I known what the final costs were going to be.
Anything else? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. And the final item for consideration, 8.9, traffic calming measures. The council received the staff report entitled Traffic Calming Measures. Can I get a mover and seconder for this, please? Deputy Reeve Davison, Councillor Milligan, Public Works Manager Thompson. This is your report. Anything to highlight or add?
Through you, Reeve Wise, I have nothing to add to the report, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council? Councillor Woodcock.
Yeah, thank you for this, Jeff. How would we, okay, so now we have some cost ideas, some ideas on what these traffic calming measures could be. Where do we go from here? Is there any ability to do public consultation? I know county roads don't apply, but we also do have lots of roads that aren't county roads. I don't know, I guess maybe my question for you is, what is the process to involve the county for traffic calming measures on our county roads? I do think there are roads that are not county roads that we could do something on, but in terms of the county road traffic calming, what does that look like?
Good question through you, Reeve Wise. As mentioned in the report, there's a traffic master plan being completed through the county on the county roads, and it's going to encompass policy out of that for traffic calming measures. So they'll have certain criteria that they'll have to follow. And if there's, so a complaint comes in or a concern comes in from a particular road, they'll look at it as the warrants, if they would fall in line with the policy that is going to be written. And consultation with the OPP, there's a lot of factors that go into considering traffic calming measures, whether it's line painting to a barrier, narrowing of the roads. I know the county has actually implemented that in the last few construction jobs they've reconstructed projects. They've narrowed the lanes to give the perception that you can't fit through it, but still staying within the standards.
And just to follow up, the master plan, when is that due to be ready, or what is the estimated timeline?
I got an email this afternoon. It is on our TAC agenda tomorrow as a presentation. So it'll go to county council first, and then after it's approved at TAC.
Okay, anyone else? All in favor? Receive that? Oh, did you want something, Jason?
Just further to that, through you, Reeve Wise, that we've also started to include the TAC minutes part of the agenda package again, so you'll see that come back to council here through as information as well. So you'll be continue to be informed of that.
There's lots of good construction detail in those minutes. Okay, that's good. All in favor? That report received. Thank you very much. Which brings us to our consent agenda. First of all, is there anything anyone wants to pull from the consent agenda for individual discussion? Yes, Deputy Reeve Davison.
9.10.
Okay, Doug's got 9.10. Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Milligan.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to comment on 9.5 and 9.6.
9.5 and 9.6. Anyone else? I want to discuss 9.4. Okay, can I get a mover and seconder for the balance of the consent agenda, please? Councillor Milligan and Councillor McDonald, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, Doug, you wanted to talk about 9.
9.10?
Yeah, 9.10.
9.10 is the Township of Southgate made a motion to support the OMERS Bill 68. I just would like to see us endorse and support it also. crackler, so I wasn't using it. I'd like to see us support the 910, which is the Township of Southgate, motion for OMERS Bill 68.
Sorry, Doug, this is one I overlooked. What essentially are they supporting in regard to OMERS, just so?
There's changes being made to how the bill is being managed, okay, and they're objecting to the changes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and as we all know, the OMERS program has been a very successful program over the years, and there's concern the changes we made will make it less successful.
And you think those concerns are legit?
I do.
Yeah. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Woodcock?
Yeah, I'd be happy to second it. It seems there's like this pattern happening of sort of taking away local control of many things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's universal. Any further discussion on that one? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. And Sherry, 9.5.
I just wanted to make comment that I feel it's such a privilege to be on the LPP Detachment Board, and we have a meeting 4 times a year, and I would just encourage, they're all open meetings. I would encourage anybody to come. The commander's reports are always so interesting, and 9.6 is along the same line. It's just a newsletter that we do after every meeting that highlights what's going on. It's just very interesting.
Motion is simply to highlight and receive those. Okay, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Woodcock, all in favor? That's carried. And I wanted to basically just highlight the statement of operations, which Treasurer Raymond has brought forward. This is the final entry of this report, and gives us a little snapshot of where we're at going into budget. I'm not going to put you on the spot for anything here, Anita. There's just some interesting differences between some of our projections and where we're at. I didn't know if you wanted to speak to anything. Yes, please go ahead.
Through you, Reeve Weiss, please note that this is a summary of a lot of the expenses that happened. We still have a few little things trickling in. Anything that has to do with tangible capital assets as movement from reserves has not been completed yet, so there's still some more differences that are going to be happening. This sort of give you a picture as of the end of the month of January for the end of December.
Very good, thank you. Can someone please make a motion to receive that? Councillor Milligan and Councillor Lalande, all in favor? That's carried. And so, moving on, we've already done our notice motion, direct motion. Any announcements that anyone wishes to make at this time? And we do have announcements already incorporated in the agenda of upcoming meeting dates. Anyone who wishes to can refer to this agenda for those upcoming meeting dates. Our first budget meeting of this year is coming up on February 23rd at 2 p.m. and our regular council meeting is later that day at 6:30. If necessary, we'll have another budget meeting March 2nd, and our regular council meeting in March is the 9th. Committee of Adjustment is March 4th, and regular council meeting is March 23rd. We do have a closed meeting this evening, which is being added to the agenda. And do you want to just read out the purpose of the closed meeting there, please, Brandon?
Sure. Thank you, Reeve Weiss. So that council proceed into closed session as permitted under the Municipal Act to consider matters relating to lease negotiations with the Tamworth Medical Center under Section 239(2)K of the Municipal Act.
Could I have a motion to go into closed? Councillor Woodcock and Councillor Lalande, all in favor? Carried. We'll take a short break before. All right, we've come back from our closed session, or we're back in open session, and Clerk Teeple will read our rise and report motion.
That in the continuing interest of transparency and open government, the Reeve reports in open session, that direction was provided to staff.
Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Councillor Milligan, Councillor Lalande, all in favor? That is carried, thank you. And we need confirmation of proceedings. Mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Milligan, Councillor Woodcock, all in favor? That's carried. And a mover and seconder for adjournment, please. Councillor Woodcock, Councillor McDonald, all